Okay, this is Sook. I kind of wanna. I'll just show the application first. And I wanna kind of explain how I got it working. One, so I can show off a bit, and then two, so I can memorize it myself. But yeah, all I really have is this animation for the stars with a black background behind it. And on top of it, I just have the menu really far. So we can go ahead and let's do it from the top. If you press play, this is where I'll have like the game running. I have a exit button to bring us back in the game, hopefully in the future. We have our settings. This is where I'll probably add another panel right around this area I'm drawing. And I wanna try to do a slider, but I don't know if I can. So I'll probably just do a text box. And I will set that to the volume of the music, which I don't have playing right now, and the sound effects like this stuff. I'll play the music at the end. Got a Discord button, and that will bring us straight to the Asylum Discord invite. I already have it launched, so it's gonna, because I have it launched in the other browser, but it would send you the invite. And then we have exit, and that'll just close the game. So let's go to our main class, and this is kind of where I pull everything and tell it to run. Like here we have application, and we named the variable to call in the application app. This number I'll kind of explain in a minute. But basically we're doing application, which is the file name right here. So app calls onto the file name that we set it to, and that brings us to the Windows setup method. Let's scroll to the top. I think you would call that a method. No, that's not. This is a method. I guess that's a function or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, we'll look at that first, because our stars are actually related to this number. But I'm pretty sure this one overlaps it. This one's kind of redundant, except this opens like multiple windows and wastes our RAM for some reason. So right here we have JFrame, which is what essentially makes the whole window for the game. And then the next word would be space shifter window. Again, it's a variable. I named that. And then you would basically set it to a new JFrame. So you're creating a JFrame named space shifter window. And inside these parentheses, in the quotation marks, you just kind of name the window. Not really sure what this one does. Kind of forget. How did that happen? Hold on. Hold on, guys. I deleted some stuff. So double slash that just comments stuff, so I can add a look up later note under create. I'm really not sure, but anyway, we set default close operation. So I guess this is kind of the method, which by the way, this is the method. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if this counts. We're essentially doing JFrame dot because we set it to that, but it would be exit on close, and what that does, it just actually closes the thing instead of just closing the window and keeping it running in the background. But yeah, maximize both. That's just going to JFrame maximize both. I'm pretty sure that's just full screens it. And then window width and window height we had set up here earlier. which I didn't even look at actually. So we made a dimension, which is I'm trying to think of the word. It's yeah, I'm really not sure. It's kind of like string, how it's not an integer, if you know what I mean. A primitive type. I think it's a primitive type, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. This might not be a primitive type. It might just be a class or something. But anyway, named it screen. Actually, I think it's a class, but I didn't import it, so I'm not sure. So equals, we call on a toolkit, get default toolkit, and then you're basically calling on the screen size of the user, and that's where we kind of use it down here. The maximize both window width, window height. Where do we use screen size at? Yeah, okay. So we set these equal to the width and height, and it pulls the width and the height from these lines right here. This is getting pretty confusing, isn't it? For me. Yeah. But space shifter window, so maximize both. I'm pretty sure that's what kind of full screens it along with this. This will just make it the size of your window, but with this, I'm pretty sure it actually full screens it. Anyway, this layered pane, I had an issue where I needed this yesterday. I'm pretty sure it's what allowed me to actually get the stars and the buttons to show up. Because it was like one or the other before I added this stuff. So I think it just lets you layer things on top of each other. That's my guess. I kind of used ChatGPT to help me out there. And it kind of took me like 4 hours to get this line. But yeah. Made an application. Named it Starfield equals new Starfield. And then this is where we would plug in the integer value, which is the amount of stars in the background, which actually links all the way down here to this whole area. And I will get to that later. I'm gonna go over the buttons really quick. I set my integers here because most of my buttons are going to be the same size, and I don't really want to type in different. I want to be able to change it all at once if I want to edit it. Did I skip anything up here? I think we went over all this, right? You need a J panel to draw on top of. Oh, the way I said this connects to the stars earlier is because we have this star field variable, which goes all the way down there, and then it connects like back up here to this number. But this layered pane lets you set the start field basically behind all the buttons. And again, we got our integers, our center button. This is kind of it's probably bad, but it's kind of the formula I use to get the actual center of the screen. There's probably a way better way to do it. But I am pretty sure when you make a button, the coordinate starts at the back of the button. So I did, the window width minus the button width, the size of it. And then you kind of just divide that by 2 to get halfway in the screen. And now we're on to the buttons. I'll just do one button because it's very repetitive. It's like all the same stuff here. So we'll just do start button. So you have to set your buttons equal to the Okay, never mind. I take that back. Let's go over to our menu button class, because that's kind of what we're calling on right here to save us a lot of space. Just take note that every time we use this one line, it is saving us from having to type all of this, or most of it. Everything inside here, really. So up here we created a. Again, I'm not sure if I'm using the right word. This is. I probably don't need this actually, this line anymore, because I changed up a bunch in here. But this is the play sound function I made. Definitely didn't use ChatGPT to help me there. But yeah, audio input stream. We named it audio input, and then you call in the audio system. I'm pretty sure that's a class. Dot get audio input stream, and then inside these parentheses right here, which actually, why is that on a different line? There we go. That's weird. So anyway, we did a menu button, which we called on this right here. Wait, no. Menu button. Where am I pulling menu button from? Oh, okay. It's just our class, bro. That's just our class. So, dot class, and then we're doing the resource, and this is just a string that we set up here. So basically, it's gonna play the sound string, and it's gonna be whatever we set down there later. I'll just jump to it now so we don't kind of jump around so much. Right here, we use the play sound class, if that's what we named it. I don't even remember. Yep. And then instead of path, we kind of just wrote the junk right here. So that's how we use that. Now inside the actual button, we have everything in here automatically does, and what we do up here is kind of like predefined parameters that you need to fill in for the button you want to make, and it just saves you a lot of space to where all you're doing is filling in variables down here instead of writing out the whole line. So we have make button, we made a string, we called it text. You'll see we kind of put it right here. Okay. And then we got a path, which we put right here, and that's how they pull the image. And in my head, I know it. You probably wouldn't know it just by looking at it because it's kind of bad code. But path, and then I got path 2. This is going to be the first button, and it's just the image that it's pulling. And then path 2, it's just going to pull whenever I hover over the image and kind of replace it. That's what's going to make the effect that shows you're hovering over a button. And then you just want the width and the height of the actual button. And this scales the image to the button. Because even if the button is changed, apparently it doesn't change the image with it. But yeah, that's that line. But here we have image icon, and we named it menu button. And then here we have image icon, and we named it hover button. These two are literally the same thing, except one is going to activate when you hover, and one's going to activate whenever it's just default. I should probably just name this default button. It'd make more sense. But yeah, anyway, we call back on the menu button class. I'm pretty positive. Then you get the resource, the path. That's just going to be the file path. And then down here, wait, now I'm confused. Okay. So this line makes the button. This line kind of scales the. It doesn't make the button. This one uses the. It grabs the path for the image, and this one scales the image to the same width that you would have the button in. Alright. So we got menu button equals new image icon, and then you set it to that. And that's what kind of instantiates the image. Same down here. You'll notice everything really connects in a way. Okay. And then after that, we have set default icon and text. Alright, so the text that you would have filled in right here is what's going to go over top of the button. And down here, where we set icon, we set it to that button, so this is the icon for it. I'm getting like really confused now because it's just so much jumping back and forth. But yeah, the whole thing in here we just named button because it's, the button. It's going to be remade every single time with your own parameters. And then we have a horizontal text position, swing constants dot center, so it's going to center it on the button constantly, I guess. And then set alignment, center alignment. So, okay, horizontal and vertical. What's the point of this? I'm not sure what this one does. Because we already have it set horizontal and vertical. It says X. I don't remember. Anyway, remove default button styling. Oh, okay. So when you add a button, it's going to come with these like predefined ugly settings to where, yeah, it's going to have a light and everything, but you can turn those images and everything off. So it's going to have set border painted. I don't really know. You just kind of want to take everything from that default button and set it to false. Especially the opacity. And yeah. Anyway, I've been doing a lot of set size because you have to. I've been doing that with every single one. And the action events over here, which I'll show later. Yeah. Final, I don't remember why, but whenever I added this line of code right here, it was giving me an error that menu button was not final. And then I'm not gonna lie, I kind of just added this one because it was weird to have one set as final and not the other, and they literally do the same thing. So that was weird to me. I'm not sure why it required this one and not this one. It exactly the same line of code. It's just a different argument. But it's like they're both variables though. But yeah. And then right here, like earlier, we're calling on the placeSound class that we created at the very beginning. And it's just gonna kind of run the clip that we get from the path we set inside these quotation marks. So yeah, and that's actually the button that just goes over. So this would be my sound effects that goes over the menu. And then of course you have to return. Do I know why? Not really. Uh, Actually I think I do. You have to return the information so it can go to the other script when you call on this. Otherwise it's not going to get that information. I'm really thinking. Oh, eprint stack.trace. So this is a catch. That's one thing I wanted to go over. This try and catch thing is really new to me. And all it really means is this is pretty good for debugging, but I think some of this has to go in that try. Is it a statement? I don't know. But it has to go in here. But anyways, if some of this doesn't work out, like let's say you can't get the path, it's going to run catch. And that's just going to print the stack trace. Because I know what that is. These are apparently things I didn't really use yet. We'll control save again. Make sure there's no errors now. And move on. Okay. So now we know what this dot make button is doing. We'll explain here for me. We have the menu button, script. So this is the class. So we gotta call on the class, and then we call on the function or method or whatever that is. And then we fill in these parameters that we created earlier, as you see right here. Text, path, path2, width, height. So text, path, path2, width, height. And we have to do that for every single button now, but we're saving so much time not having to type all that again. So anyway, remember these kind of all connect together. Start button. So you got to set the bounds, even though we already set the bound. Hold on. I'm confused. I probably don't need this line. Actually, what I'm thinking I could have done is just added this up here, because this is the X and Y coordinate. That would have saved us from having to type this every time. So that's kind of wasted code right there, I think. Again, I'm pretty new. But we have a start button, the J button we created. And we gotta do set font. And then your argument is anything inside parentheses. So we want to set the font to a new font that we're adding in. Do I have to? Because it's not really a new font, is it? Well, I did it probably terribly. But yeah, we did a start button for this J button. Dot set font, and then we chose serif because it's already preloaded into Java. And then you have a few options here. You can do bold, plain. I think there's like a bunch more. I didn't really know how they work, but this is going to be the size of your text right here. Again, I'm thinking like this is all stuff I could have added over here. That would really clean up this code, wouldn't it? Probably. Not really sure. But yeah. And then you have to tell the computer to actually add the button on top of the panel. In the panel we created earlier. So panel.add, and then your argument is the start button. And that should put it on the screen. Now, if we want any functionality for the start button, we'll have to go to make a trigger event, which I remember that word from Unity a long time ago. But here it is a listener, or an adapter, I guess. But yeah, same variable we used for the J button, right? Because we're calling on that J button. We're doing .add mouse listener, which actually you need. Am I tripping? I thought I imported some things for that. I think URI is what I imported. But I'm not sure if that's what it was for. Might have been another thing. We'll see as I scroll down. But yeah, just know we're calling on that variable from the J button. And we're doing .add listener. And the argument's going to be a new mouse adapter. This is really weird to me. Because I guess it needs it all to be like, technically it's all inside this argument, right? Everything in here is part of the argument of add mouse listener. So this was kind of tripping me up for a while because I'm like, why is there parentheses around curly brackets? And then we have the semicolon at the end. But yeah, just know this helped me out a lot being able to click these. and see where it actually connects. But yeah, inside of that we have to override it because I guess whenever I didn't have this, the buttons would appear. There would be no errors, but they would not do anything inside of this. And I'm thinking it's because you have to like brute force it to actually change what happens inside the button. That's just my theory. I'm still learning, guys. But yeah, you got to make a public void. Mouse clicked. Make sure this is lowercase. This is uppercase. Or it will not work. It'll give you an error. And then argument. So basically, when your mouse is clicked, it's going to make a mouse event. And this is just the variable for it. E, which I have some pretty bad naming habits apparently. But yeah, when this mouse event happens, it's going to be like for made a J button. This is probably bad too. And we just named this menu 1. And I guess with these arrays and lists, because I wanted to kind of make it where I could turn off a whole list of menus. So I kind of set this variable equal to the main menu array. But yeah, if you click on this button, it's going to set everything inside this to invisible, which this is the whole starting menu. That's what happens whenever I press settings and the first menu goes away. Or start and the whole menu goes away. This is the start one, to be specific. And I also have, it's going to do my buttons that I wanted in the play menu. It's going to set those visible, true. Alright, let's look what else I have. Oh yeah, I use URI for the link. Okay. We got it, guys. I named this exception DSK. Don't remember why, so it's probably a bad variable for the exception. I'm trying to figure it out. Discord, probably. Bro, there's no K at Discord. Okay. Anyway, exit button. You do system.exit. For some reason, there's a number. I'm not sure why. I feel like it should work without the 0, but it doesn't. And all these little sections you see, they're kind of just, these are different mouse listeners for each different button that I've made. Like this whole thing is just the script for one button. Okay. Don't remember what this does at all. It says pack. I just assume it makes it work. I don't know. Really. I know we have to set the window visible so we can actually see the window that opens when we run our project. I know that down here we can start our star stuff. And this is really complicated. I really don't remember exactly how it works. I know I made 3 integers, x, y, and speed, and I made a color named color. This is another class, I think. Okay, so we made a private list named star, and in here we keep our stars. And then we made a random, like a number generator, and we named it Ranny, new random. So inside of our application, which we run from over here, I believe. Yeah. Something like no, actually, you don't have to run an application. It auto does it for whatever reason. But here's where we set our num stars, which actually plugs in right here and up there to an integer. And you can kind of see it highlight everywhere we use num star. For example, this is where we create the star, and it's going to do essentially if I equals 0. So when I is less than the number of stars, it adds a star. And then I plus plus every time. New star plus new. Something like that. I'm not really quite sure. I need to really look back into this stuff. This has absolutely no functionality. It's supposed to be part of a player script that I couldn't get to work, so I retreated to making a menu first and ran away from my problems. Here's our paint component. This is how we actually like draw the stars. Right here. Sorry, right here. This is the variable for the star. And then we did. Where did I define the colors? I know repaint basically redraws the stars every time. It makes new stars. Or it's for the image as it goes down. Where did I get those colors? Okay, color. We set that up early. Oh, they are like random colors. Nice. Palette right? But yeah, anyway, this timer is kind of what lets things update. So make new stars and all that, runs that. And then we have our music class. Made a private clip, which we call down here. We named it clip. That's probably bad. But then we made our. This is a constructor. Yeah. We're using the right words here. So we got a public constructor with a string named file path. And as you see, we put it all down here. You see everywhere it connects. So we take the URL, which is not a internet URL, but we named it sound URL. And it equals, so get class. Making sure this isn't something I set up. I don't think it is. I think this is a pre-Java thing. But anyway, you go further into that, you get the get resource, and then file path is going to be the URL we're looking for. So, yeah. And if it doesn't do that, so if the sound URL is null and it can't find it, it's going to say, it's going to be like in the form of an error. Audio file not found, plus whatever file path you typed into that argument and your constructor in the main class. Okay, so now we have our audio input stream, and we named it audio. So I guess there's an audio system. Bro, is this a class? Because they're both capitalized. That's what's confusing me. But yeah, I guess I'm just going to call it a class. So the audio system class, you go in there and you get audio input stream. And then we do the sound URL, which is the variable we set up earlier. Which, basically, I'm pretty sure this just tells it that we're looking for a sound file. And then we do our clip, which we set up earlier. And we're setting that variable now equal to that audio system.getClip. So whatever audio it finds is going to be named clip. Okay. And then catch, if that doesn't work, it's going to error. What's the point of trying this and then doing this if we already wrote our own error thing? Not sure. Anyway, public void play music. So I'm pretty sure we call on this later, and that actually just tells it to do clip, which we set to the file in the file path that they set, and dot start that just plays it. Now it's only going to play once if you do it like this, but I guess I named this one stop music, even though. Oh wait, no, I'm tripping, bro. Okay, yeah, this one does stop the music. This will never happen though, because we never call on it. But we do have clip.loop, and your argument is clip, which we actually set. No, we don't set that to anything, that's just the class. So your argument is clip.loop continuously forever. I'm confused though. Oh, okay. I'm tripping. So if not equal, if what? I guess I can't put true. I'm confused because I'm thinking like, bro, we don't need a not equals. We could just literally put equals the opposite of null, but I'm pretty sure that wouldn't work. But yeah, let's see how we call on our constructor up here. Our music constructor and our play music. Right here we have our music constructor. So we got a class. We named it equals new. Here's our constructor, I'm pretty sure, and here's the parameter we have to fill in, which is the file path. But then we got to call on this function with this method right here. We're calling on the variable, which we named from the music file, and then we're going to do dot play music, which we actually had grabbed right here. The name of this. It just runs everything inside of this. Okay, and without further ado, control save. Let's listen to some brain rot AI music.
Space shifter! Keep the change. shifted.